Welcome to part 7 of 99 problems. We're up to question 73, and question 73 says here are 5 digits 0, 1, 3, 5 and 6. Use each digit once to complete this calculation. So here we have a 2-digit number multiplied by 2, which needs to equal a 3-digit number. For this type of question, I would use trial and error. So maybe just try 2 numbers here and see what you get. So you might try something like 3 and 5, but you know that's only going to make 70, which is a 2-digit number, so that's not going to work. What about something like 56? 56 would make 112. That's not going to work because the remaining digits are 0, 1 and 3. They don't make 112. Then try maybe 53. 53 times 2 is 106. The digits remaining are 1, 0 and 6, so this is going to work. 53 times 2 equals 106. So that's one possible answer to this question. There is another one, see if you can find it. But that was question 73 for 2 marks. Question 74 says there are 25 boys and 32 girls in a club. 2/5 of the boys and 1/2 of the girls walk to the club. The club leader picks at random a child from the children who walk to the club. Work out the probability that this child is a boy. So for this, you need to know how to work out a fraction of an amount. So we need to firstly work out the number of children that walk to the club, because the club leader is picking from those ones. So we need to work out 2/5 of the boys. So to work out a fraction of an amount, you can multiply that fraction by the number. So to work out 2/5 of 25, you can do 2/5 multiplied by 25. And now if you find this easier, you might like to write 25 as 25 over 1, if you find that an easier way to multiply fractions. And then what you can do is something called cancelling. So if you're multiplying fractions, and by the way, you can't do this with adding or subtracting, but if you're multiplying, you can cancel the numerators with the denominators. So you can divide 25 by 5. 5 goes into 25 5 times. So this 5 effectively cancels out. This becomes 1, and 25 divided by 5 is 5. Then this problem becomes 2 over 1 multiplied by 5 over 1. So 2 times 5 in the numerator is 10, and 1 times 1 in the denominator is just 1. 10 over 1 is 10. So now we know that 10 boys walk to the club. Then we want half of 32. Well, half of a number is easy because we just divide by 2. 32 divided by 2 is 16. So now we know that 16 girls walk to the club. And then we want to know how to write a probability, or how to work out a probability. And for probabilities, it's always helpful to have a really clear example in your mind that you really understand. So 2 examples I always give are tossing a coin or rolling a dice. Most people understand when you toss a coin, there's a 1 out of 2 chance of getting a heads or a tails, or 50%. Why is that? Because there are 2 possibilities and you could get one of those, so 1 out of 2. In this case, we want the total number of children walking to the club. So the total number would be 10 plus 16, which is 26. And then if the club leader is going to pick a boy, well, the total amount of children he's picking from is 26. The number of boys is 10. So the probability that it will be a boy will be 10 out of 26. So that would be my final answer there. You could also simplify. It doesn't say you have to simplify, but you could simplify this to 5 out of 13 as well. So either of those 2 answers would be fine there. So that was question 74 for 3 marks. Question 75 says, on a school trip, the ratio of the number of teachers to the number of students is 1 to 15. The ratio of the number of male students to the number of female students is 7 to 5. Work out what percentage of all the people on the trip are female students. Give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. Okay, so firstly, we have teachers to students, the total number of students, which is 1 to 15. And we have male to female students, which is 7 to 5. All right, one way you can approach this type of question is to effectively combine the ratios. Now, I want these numbers here, the total number of students, to add up to the number in this teachers to students ratio. So 7 plus 5, that's not 15. But what I can do is multiply this ratio by something until I can get a multiple of 15 that this ratio fits into. So for example, I can multiply it by 2 So then I'd get 2 to 30. 7 plus 5 makes 12. And no matter what I multiply 12 by, that's not going to fit into 30. So I can multiply it by 2 again, and I'd get 4 to 60. Now, 12 I know is a factor of 60. And I know that 12 times 5 equals 60. So what I want to do with this ratio now is multiply it by 5. So I'm multiplying this one by 5 to make it add up to the number of students in the first ratio. So multiply this by 5. 7 times 5 is 35. 5 times 5 is 25. And now 35 plus 25 equals 60. And now, as I said, I can combine these ratios. So I would have then the number of teachers to the number of male students to female students. And this ratio would be 4 to 35 to 25. Why did I do all that? Well, because now I can write the fraction of female students out of the total. So the total parts of this ratio here would be 4 plus 60, so 64. And then fraction that are female or female students would be 25 out of 64. And then all we need to do is to convert that to a percentage. So to do that, we do 25 divided by 64. Multiply that by 100 and we get 39.0625, and it says give your answer correct to the nearest whole number. To do that, we look at the number after the decimal point. If it's less than 5, then we leave that number as is. So this is going to be 39% to the nearest whole number. There are other ways to do this question. You can work out the fraction of students that are female students and then the fraction that are teachers. So I would say this is a slightly quicker method. Let me just show you. So for example, if you look at this ratio, the proportion that are female is 5 out of 12. And then the fraction of students out of the total is 15 out of 16. So doing this operation, 5/12 times 15 over 16, that will give you the fraction that are female students as well. And that's another way to do this question. But that involves some knowledge of fractions, and I wanted to stick to mainly ratios to solve this. So anyways, that's 2 ways you could do this, and I'm sure there are further different ways to solve it as well. But on to question 76. Question 76 says Kim, Laura and Molly share £385. The ratio of the amount of money Kim gets to the amount of money Molly gets is 2 to 5. Kim gets £105 less than Molly gets. What percentage of the £385 does Laura get? Well, firstly, let's write down this ratio of money Kim and Molly get. They get 2 to 5. And we know that Kim gets £105 less than Molly gets. She also has 3 parts of the ratio less. So our starting point to start to solve this is to say that 3 parts of this ratio equals £105. Next, then we can say 1 part must be 105 divided by 3. So I'm dividing by 3 here to get from 3 parts to 1 part. So 105 divided by 3, that's £35. So now I know what 1 part in this ratio is worth. I can work out what 2 parts is worth. 2 times 35 is 70, and 5 times 35, that's 150 plus 25, that would be 175. So now I know this ratio of money that Kim and Molly get, and I can work out the total they get by adding those up. So I can do 70 plus 175, that's 245. And remember, we're looking for Laura's share. So if the total is 385 and Kim and Molly get 245 between them, to get Laura's share, we can do 385 take 245. The difference there is 140. So the amount Laura gets is £140. To work that out as a percentage, we would do her amount divided by the total amount, 385, and then multiply that by 100. So that's the operation we need to do here. And let's plug that in. 140 divided by 385 multiplied by 100, and we get 36.363636, etc. So I might write that down. Now the question does not say whether to round off or not. I'm not 100% sure what to suggest. Usually if the question does not tell you to round off for percentages, My advice usually is to round off to 2 decimal places. That's fairly typical practice with percentages. But for questions like this that don't give you specific directions as to what to round off to, you can even write the whole thing out, the whole number on your calculator, and you'll still get the marks. So 36.36 is fine. 36.3 or 36.4 would be fine as well for those 4 marks for question 76. On to question 77. Question 77 says there are 64 cards in a pack. Each card is either red or black. The ratio of the number of red cards to the number of black cards is 1 to 1. 8 red cards are removed from the pack. Find the ratio of the number of red cards now in the pack to the number of black cards now in the pack. Give your answer in its simplest form. So if you have a ratio of 1 to 1, that means that half are red and half are black. So if we have a pack of 64 cards, the ratio would be then 32 to 32, red to black. If 8 red cards are removed, well, 32 take 8, that's 24. So the ratio then would be 24 to 32. We haven't removed any black cards, so that stays the same. And now we need to simplify this because the question says give your answer in its simplest form. So for this ratio, we want to divide by a common factor. What's a common factor between 24 and 32? Well, I know my 8 times tables. 8 goes into 24 3 times and 8 goes into 32 4 times. So my final answer there would be 3 to 4. I guess the key to this question was knowing how to write that ratio of 1 to 1 in terms of the number of cards. So really this is a question about equivalent ratios, knowing how to convert that to the number of cards in the pack. So 32 to 32. Question 78 says the ratio of the number of boys to the number of girls in a school is 4 to 5. There are 95 girls in the school. Work out the total number of students in the school. So what's missing in this question? We want to know the number of boys. How can we do that? Well, we can work out what 4 parts of this ratio is worth. To work out 4 parts, we want to know what 1 part is worth. And to work out what 1 part of that ratio is worth, we can use this fact that 95 girls is worth 5 parts of that ratio. So we would do 95 divided by 5 to get what 1 part is worth. 95 divided by 5, well, that's almost 100 divided by 5. I know that's 20, so this must be 19, and that is 1 part of that ratio. So then to find 4 parts, we would do 19 times 4. That's 40 plus 36, that's 76. And then therefore we have 76 boys in the school. And remember the question says that work out the total number of students in the school. So now we want to do 76 plus 95. That's like 100 plus 71. That's 171. For my final answer there for question 78 for 3 marks. Question 79 says Jane made some almond biscuits which she sold at a fete. She had 5 kilograms of flour, 3 kilograms of butter, 2.5 kilograms of icing sugar, 320 grams of almonds. Here's the list of ingredients for making 24 almond biscuits. So for 24 biscuits, you need 150 grams of flour, 100 grams of butter, 75 grams of icing sugar, and 10 grams of almonds. Jane made as many almond biscuits as she could. Using the ingredients she had, work out how many almond biscuits she made. So for this question, the first thing I would probably do is, because these are in grams and these are in kilograms, I would convert these to grams. So to go from kilograms to grams, you multiply by 1,000. So this would be 5 times 1,000 would be 5,000 grams. 3 kilograms of butter would be 3,000 grams of butter. 2.5 kilograms, that would be 2,500 grams. And almonds is already in grams. So now then, let's work out how many batches we can make with each amount. So we want to do 5,000 divided by 150. That's going to give us the amount of batches we can make with the flour. So 5,000 divided by 150. Well, let's use our calculator for this. Why not? 5,000 divided by 150 gives us 33.3 recurring, or 33 1/3. So effectively 33 batches with the flour. What about with the butter? We had 3,000 grams. Divide that by 100 grams. Well, 3,000 divided by 100 is 30. So 30 batches with the butter. Then the icing sugar we had 2,500 grams divided by 75. That's going to be 33 1/3 again for the icing sugar. And then the almonds, that was 320 grams divided by 10 for each batch. That would be 32. So now how many biscuits or how many batches can she make? Well, she can only make the amount that she has the minimum for. So if she tried to make 33, she wouldn't have enough butter. So the maximum amount of batches she can make here is 30 batches because she doesn't have enough butter for any more. And then remember, with each batch, she gets 24 biscuits. So the number of biscuits she can make would be 30 times 24. 30 times 24, well, think of 3 times 24. 3 times 24 is 60 plus 12 is 72. So 30 times 24 must be 720 biscuits for my final answer there for question 78. Sorry, question 79. Question 80. Question 80 is actually very similar. It says, here is a list of ingredients for making chocolate mousse for 2 people. Ellie has 250 grams of sugar and 550 grams of dark chocolate. She assumes that she has plenty of lemon juice and plenty of eggs. What is the greatest number of people Ellie can make chocolate mousse for? You must justify your answer. So the recipe says chocolate mousse for 2 people, 40 grams sugar, 110 grams dark chocolate, 2 eggs, and a 1/4 teaspoon of lemon juice. So we don't need to worry about these two. So let's look at the sugar and the dark chocolate. She has 250 grams of sugar. How many batches could she make with that? We'll divide that by 40. Well, 40 goes into 240 because I know that 4 goes into 24. So this would be 6 with 10 left over. 10 out of 40 is 1/4. So effectively 6 batches or 6 1/4 batches. And then we want to do 550 for the dark chocolate divided by the amount in the recipe, 110. This is like 55 divided by 11, which is 5. So with the dark chocolate, she has enough for 5 batches of chocolate mousse. And remember, we can only go with the minimum. We can't make 6 because she doesn't have enough dark chocolate for 6. So she only has enough for 5 batches, and each batch makes enough for 2 people. So the question, what's the greatest number of people Ellie can make chocolate mousse for? That would be 5 times 2, which would be 10 people. That's my final answer for part A. Part B says Ellie only has 6 eggs. What effect would this have on the greatest number of people Ellie can make chocolate mousse for? Go back to the ingredients list. She needs 2 eggs for each batch. If she only has 6 eggs, well, she only has enough then for 3 batches. So then we would do 3 times 2, that's 6 people. So it reduces from 10 people to 6 people would be my answer there. So it reduces to 6. So that was question 80 for 4 marks. And I might end this part here on question 80, and I will aim to finish this paper off in the next part. So for part 8, I'll try to go from questions 81 to 100. I hope you found that useful. Please leave a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more content, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.